This is Dementia Air Network, brought to you by Beyond Dementia Coalition, and I'm your host, Bruce Leyton. This interview is part of our 2025 Symposium interview series, recorded during the second annual Northeast Georgia Dementia Symposium, hosted by Beyond Dementia Coalition and Alzheimer's Association. I'm honored to welcome Laura Banner. Laura is owner-operator of Oasis Senior Advisors in North Georgia. So thank you for being here, Laura.
Thank you for inviting me.
You want to tell me about Oasis Senior Advisors first before we get started?
Absolutely, I'd love to. So imagine that you were finding yourself in need and needed information, didn't know who to trust, didn't know where to turn. That's where Oasis comes in. We want to be the people you lean on. What we do is we're a free resource to seniors and their families to help navigate the needs and the journey of seniors. We do that by doing a deep dive, trying to understand why was there even an introduction to us? Why was there a referral to Oasis? I've done this for a couple of years now, and I've yet to have someone call me and say, you know what, I waited my whole life to move into assisted living, and I'm that age, and let's go look. It's usually because either something has happened or they're afraid that something will happen. And so they reach out to us, which we feel very honored. They trust us. They open up to us. They tell us what's going on. If it's not them, if they're not able to convey, what's going on, it's a family member, a trusted friend. And so, again, we do a deep dive to understand what the need is. We want to make whatever their wishes are become a reality, with the caveat that we need to be able to have a strong feeling that we can make it happen in a safe manner. We do want to be that trusted friend, but if we don't feel comfortable, we don't feel that we can help their wish become a reality in a safe way, then we're going to be honest with them and have that difficult conversation and say that that's just not something that can happen.
And what would prevent you from being able to help them or be their friend in the journey?
It could be a situation where maybe an adult child calls us, maybe they're out of state, and they say mom or dad or mom and dad live alone. We've noticed when we come home for the holidays, the house doesn't look like it used to. There's weeds in the front yard. We open up the refrigerator. The food is expired. We see mounds of mail. We notice that they're getting some phone calls, maybe some unpaid bills. But, the adult child, they are not in a position where they can move their parents with them or they can move back to Georgia to be with them. And so maybe they tell us, hey, we want to keep mom and dad at home. And so maybe we need to bring care in. And then we have that conversation. Well, Unfortunately, that type of care is private pay. And so if they don't have those financial resources to be able to provide that 24/7, we tell them there are other options. It may not be your first choice of staying at home, but we have to look through the lens of safety first. So let's look at the other options that maybe are more reasonable financially, that can give your parents a safe environment while they're still enjoying life, find purpose, thrive, have a sense of community. So that would be a time when we would say, I understand what your wishes are for your parents, but unfortunately, the resources are not available to make that happen. Sometimes what they'll come back and say is...
Meaning the resources that they have available. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So sometimes what they'll say is, well, how about if we just bring care in maybe 4 hours a day? Mm-hmm. We could afford that. Well, that sounds great, but how do we know that those 4 hours during the day when the caregiver is there will be the 4 hours that something goes on where they need that caregiver? Because it never happens that way. I've been in healthcare my whole life, and it always happens on a holiday, late at night, on the weekend, when resources are not so readily available. So we tell families, what you want, we'd like to deliver. But sometimes it's not possible. And again, we have those conversations with them.
Yeah. Building awareness also for them, I would imagine. So you just described my story, by the way.
Did I?
So my mom, dementia, lived in New York. We had moved down here, and we're down here. She resisted everything in terms of help, denial in terms of we had noticed changes. Mom, we have to get you help. No way. And then it was almost too late, and she was still living at home.
Yeah.
we would have done anything just to get aides in for like those 2 or 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. That's all we could do, all she would allow us to do. But and we did have the resources in that case, but it was just my mom's resistance. So you just described the story and that whole other world that exists outside that 4 hours. I hadn't even thought about that until just now.
So my background is I'm a neurology nurse practitioner. I specialize in dementia. And there's a story that I tell people all the time. First of all, dementia is a moving target. We do the best we can to anticipate. But again, we don't always know which direction something is going to go. What someone's personality was prior to dementia is not an indicator of how they're going to present once their dementia progresses. So I was seeing a patient. Her daughter picked her up. So the individual was living by herself. Daughter picked her up to bring her to the practice visit because she didn't drive anymore. And it was a winter day and it was cold. And I was just, having a normal conversation with the daughter and with my patient. And one of the things that came up during this course of conversation was that the daughter, who felt very comfortable with her mom living alone, walked in and found her mom with her head in the oven. And again, it was a cold day, and she said, "Mom, what are you doing?" And her mom's response was, "I was cold and I wanted to get warm." Well, a healthy brain would know that that's not a safe behavior, but it made perfect sense to her mom. Had the daughter not walked in and seen that, she probably would have concluded the visit, maybe taken her mom out for lunch, taken her mom back home, and saw her maybe the following week and thought everything was fine.
Yeah.
But as you know, dementia has a very ugly side to it, and it puts people at risk. And so going back to what I said before, safety first.
Yeah.
And those are the conversations that we have with people. It's difficult. It's difficult on everyone. It's difficult to be the caregiver. It's difficult to parent your parent. It's difficult for a spouse to now, in some ways, parent their partner.
Difficult to have the discussions amongst the siblings, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a very interesting dynamic.
If you're lucky enough to have all the siblings on the same page, that's more a rarity than what we usually see.
I would agree with that. We have to have formulated conversations, right? We need to learn how to do that, and it's difficult. But what motivated you to become who you are and what you're doing, and kind of what sustains you, if you don't mind me asking?
So interestingly enough, I never imagined that this is what I would do. I grew up without any grandparents, and so I was actually afraid of seniors growing up. So it's ironic that now here I am doing this. Dementia, I didn't intentionally go into caring for people with dementia. I went into general neurology. I loved it. I found that no matter how much time I spent with an individual in the family, it was never enough time. And out of that, I started doing more things. A podcast. I've written a couple of books. I enjoyed my practice as a neuro NP, thought I would retire with that until one day I got a call that I had a family member who needed to explore senior living. And it was, like being a deer in the headlights, cliche, but that's how I felt. And so I realized that I can serve this population in a different way. There's enough people out there diagnosing and prescribing, but I want to be their advocate beyond that 15-minute visit.
Yeah.
And so with that, I opened up Oasis with my daughter, who's my partner. We have a team of advisors and a family liaison. And the cruel reality of it is this is not just my profession, but I'm the daughter of someone with dementia. So I live it, I walk it, I'm in the trenches. I understand it in ways that I never could have imagined and would never wish on anybody else. But that's what sustains me. Someday it could be me, right? And I would like someone to do right by me and my family the way that me and my team do for families.
Yeah. I've got so many questions about caregiving, but that's for another time. So, Laura Banner, thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate it.
Pleasure was all mine. Thank you for having me.
We hope this brief but meaningful conversation offers a vital perspective on dementia care, advocacy, and the power of community. This is Dementia Air Network, where voices matter and stories connect. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep the conversation going.